All right, our live. Get the off at all we are today. So apologize for keeping everybody waiting. It's John Robinson with John Buys Houses, and today is a very special day. I have a special guest that I'm going to be bringing on in just a minute. And wouldn't you know it, that today also happened to be the day that I have StreamYard, the platform I use, decided to reload everything. So I don't have I had to recreate some of my stuff and go in and kind of start all over from scratch. And I'm also out on a job site. So I'm streaming live right now from my job site studio. And I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys being patient with me today. So I want to just make the best use of the time that we have remaining today. We're still getting started about 15 minutes late. So what I want to just have you guys do is, if you're here right now and you're live, or if you're watching later, it's either way is fine. If you're right now, if you're live, I'd like you to just jump on and let me know that you can hear me okay, and let me know that you can see and hear everything right now, because I kind of had to rearrange stuff. So let us know that you can see and hear me okay, so that I know that everything's going well before I bring my guest on. If you guys could do that, that'd be very, very helpful. And then also, if you are working on a flip, or if you've ever thought about doing a flip, I want you to drop a comment in the chat and say, drop the word flip. Okay, so drop the word flip. I see Tanya says that they can hear and see us fine. Perfect. Thank you very much, Tanya. Juan says, yes, I can. Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, if you guys have ever thought about doing a flip, I want you to drop the word flip in the comments, because I want to see how many potential or active flippers we have watching today. You guys, I have a very special guest for you today, and I'm very excited about talking to this, now I would say an expert flipper, although she would probably protest that a little bit, but I think maybe not. She's actually got a lot of experience in the last year. Some of you already know who I'm talking about, but I want to know if you guys have you ever thought about doing a flip? I want to have you comment the word flip. And even if you're watching this later, I'd like to be able to just kind of go back and see how many people watching the Tuesday Talks live broadcasts are thinking about flipping. Because I think when people talk about getting into real estate, most people, hey, thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate that. You can see here is on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, good. Then, boy, we're up and running. So I was scrambling there for a minute, trying to get everything reloaded, because my entire platform account with StreamYard, they did like a refresh and update, and so a bunch of stuff was missing and all my normal stuff. Michael Garza says, I want to flip. Michael, that's awesome, brother. I appreciate Michael Garza. He's right here in the Treasure Valley area, and part active member of the Sub 2 community, and someone who I've seen at all of our recent meetups. In fact, we've got a meetup coming up. The TVREI group is meeting this coming Thursday, guys. Yes, I know it's already here. I can't believe it. Same place, same time. Empire Title, 6 p.m. And we'll be happy to have you guys there. Don't worry about pre-signing up at RSVPing. Just show up. It's going to be the first Thursday every single month, and then the third Thursday in Portland. But if you've ever thought about doing a flip, which you probably have, you probably thought about doing a flip because of the fact that flipping was made popular, right, by all the reality TV shows, which are anything but reality, because they show a flip, the entire thing, beginning to end, all happening in about a half hour. And any of us who've done a flip know that that's just not how things go. But if you ever thought about doing a flip, it's probably the natural thing to think about when you think about getting into real estate investing. And that's because of the fact that flipping is something that we probably all, generally speaking, understand. I mean, even people that aren't in real estate, they kind of understand the concept of flipping, right? So you buy a house that's run down, you fix it up, and then you flip it back onto the market, you sell it. Hopefully, that's always the goal, right? Hopefully for a profit. And it seems like it's a pretty simple process. But my personal experience has been that it can be one of the most stressful, trying, and I would say rewarding things that you can ever endeavor to do in real estate. And the reason I say that is because it's stressful when you have borrowed money, and that's typically how flips work, or that's how flippers work at least, is we borrow money from either a hard money lender or from private capital, or maybe we're even funding deals out of our home equity line of credit or somebody who's agreed to use their HELOC to help us. The point is you get into doing flips, and when you do flips, you've got a lot of pressure because really from the day you close, you are on a ticking clock, right? You've got to get this thing done. You've got to get this property up to speed, and there's just no way around it. I have hardly ever been on a flip. In fact, I'm trying to think of how many I've actually done. I would say close to, as far as total transactions in the Portland market, in southwestern Washington. Boise. I've done a couple in California. In fact, I've done flips right that I never even went to in Florida. I had partners down there. We did some flips in a couple of communities. No matter where I've done a flip, no matter when I've done a flip, I have always run into an issue of some sort or another, something that was not expected, something that was unanticipated, because the truth is you don't really know what you've got until you get into it a lot of times. And nobody knows that better than my guest here today, and that is Mrs. Caitlin Beals. So when Caitlin comes on, guys, I just want you guys to know a little bit about her. I'm going to give you some background. I'm going to let her talk about herself a little bit because I want to hear from her, and really more importantly, I want you guys to hear from her. But when she does come on here, when I get her on, I want you guys to give her a big round of applause because Caitlin has, in the last 18 months, and I could be wrong on this number, but in the last 18 months, between her primarily and then her husband has done kind of a couple of deals, they have flipped 10 properties in the last 18 months. So I want you guys to give a big round of applause to Caitlin Beals. Caitlin, welcome to the Tuesday Talks broadcast. Let's see, I've got that you're unmuted now. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited about having you because you and I have had plenty of opportunity to talk about these deals, but I don't know that a lot of people have heard your story. So Caitlin, welcome to the Tuesday Talk podcast, and thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks, John. Flipping is nothing like the half-hour show, and I lived that, breathed that, ate that, slept that, all of the last 12 months. So yes, very true.
You've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, have the closing documents to prove it, right?
Multiple. Yeah.
So let's just talk about that real quickly. I gave out a number. I think that number is accurate, but how many deals have you done between you and your husband? And I want to just say this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you've been the primary driving force on this endeavor over the last 12 to 18 months, haven't you? And how many have you guys done collectively?
Yeah. So I'm definitely in charge of the flipping side of our life. And so I have, when I've done 7 myself. 2 of those have sold. 1 is pending. 2 just went on the market, and then two are in the final stages. So one of mine, my one that I'm doing long distance, should be done in the next 2 weeks. And then my last one in Portland, my contractor gave me a 6-week deadline, which means 8 weeks. So
yeah, you've learned that much, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then my husband has done, he joined a partnership, which has been very complicated, and not something I would ever do again. And so that one hasn't been very glamorous. It's actually been really painful, but yes, we have at this point bought and sold, when I'm done with these last 2, 12 houses in the last 12 months.
Wow. 12 houses. I mean, let's just do the math on that real quickly. 12 houses, 12 months. That's on average. I mean, it's crazy, right? 1 house a month is incredible. Guys, let's give it up for Caitlin. Guys, I want you to know this. This is an interactive show. If you guys are regulars here, you know that. Ask your questions. Let's see some thumbs up. Let's see some hearts, because I just think that most people don't understand or even can't even begin to appreciate the magnitude of that statement. 12 deals in 12 months. And this isn't like a wholesale deal. These are actual projects that they have acquired. They've done the renovations. They've worked on getting them back on market or getting them refinanced. So this is a big deal. Caitlin, I want to just say thank you very much for gracing us today, because honestly, no, I mean, I say, and you know this, I've told you this in private too, but I'm super impressed with what you've been able to accomplish in the last 12 months. most people would never even actually think to get into a real estate deal. But you not only got into it, like you dove in head first, and you've got so much value to share that I just thought it's super important to have you be able to come on and just help us today. So let's just start off from a good place to start, which is the beginning, and we don't have to go back to, your
Yeah.
birthday and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, who is Caitlin Beals? Why did you get into real estate? How did that even start? And then maybe you can take us into how that turned into doing 12 flips in 12 months.
Yeah. So my background is project management. I worked in higher education, got my master's degree in higher education administration, and like thought I was going to go that whole direction. Climbing it's not quite corporate America, but climbing the higher ed academia administrative ladder. Got into that. I was really good at it. And, but then we had kids, and the income versus childcare expense, when you're working in higher ed, you're not making meaningful money. And so I decided to work part-time and then just be mom. And I did that for a long time, kind of juggled both worlds. My job was super easy, not challenging at all. And then when my youngest started kindergarten and went to like full day school, I suddenly was kind of in this place of I'm extremely bored and I hate my job, and I hate having a job. I hate commuting. I hate all of it. And also, I didn't really make anything, so it really didn't matter that I was working. And so my husband, Jonathan, had been really, really bugging me for a long time about real estate and how he believed that was our future. And, when our kids were 5 and under, I was like, don't even talk to me. I can't even think about that. But then finally, I feel like he kind of wore me down, and I was finally ready to say, I don't like my job. This is dumb. And so he talked me into watching Pace Morby's 4-hour Avatar video. And we sped through a lot of it because I was like, none of that is me. None of that is me. I don't want to do any of that. And then we stumbled upon the transaction coordinator one where I was like, oh, I could do that. I'm a project manager. Like, that's what I do all day, right? Like, easy. And so I joined that program, again, got into it, and was just like, I just don't like this either. I TC'd a couple deals, and just, it was very different than what I was anticipating. And so then I pivoted to do some operations for a sub-2 member out in Florida. And that was going really well. I really liked that entrepreneur that I was working with. We were a really good fit. But ultimately, I had to come face to face in like December 2024 with the reality that like operating someone else's startup is not going to actually move the needle for my family. Mm-hmm. And parted on really great terms with that John. His name is also John. And we're still friends and still chat. And so I decided, well, if I'm going to be in real estate, there's 2 ways I'm going to go after active income, or there's 2 ways I could go after active income. One of those is wholesaling, and that's just not me. I don't want to do that. And so the other one that I knew of at the time was house flipping. And so I had a little side hustle a few years ago around flipping furniture. So like I had a general idea about, what it takes. I have a very narrow window of this is what construction is, like in a very, very, very tiny way. And so I was like, well, if I can go, buy a dresser for $50, fix it up and sell it for $1,000, sure. I can, if I can do that, I can do this. And I don't know why.
It's practically the same thing.
Thought those were the same thing, but it's not the same thing. And so, in January 2025, I hired a coach to teach me how to underwrite, how to comp, how to, network my way into properties, how to send mailers, like how to do all these things that I had no idea how to do. And then in March 2025, I bought my first house. And I named it Small Nasty. And I know some of you, I'm guessing, probably saw that one. And that was a master class in just touching every major system of a house, having the budget go substantially over, having surprise underground oil tanks that were massively leaking. And so when I was done with it, that house had a new roof, all new windows, new siding, new HVAC, new plumbing, new electrical. Like, I mean, literally, we went down to the studs and then we brought it back out. And I did, that was a value add house. So I added a bathroom to create a true primary bedroom. And that is what saved me on that house. I made money on that house, by the grace of God, and, and because I made a primary bedroom, and staging, like all the people that helped me get it sold, the stager, the broker I hired, it was flipping a house is not a thing that you can do by yourself. You need a good team, and you need to trust the people on your team. And so yeah, that's that story. And then from there, it's like I bought a condo to flip in May. We'll never flip a condo with an HOA ever again, because that was awful. And then I had a partner, and we bought a house in Laurelhurst in July, and then I bought another house in August, and then I bought 2 houses in October, and that's when I started to get private money funding my deals completely. And then about 1 in December, and then I said, that's it, I can't do it. And then my husband wanted to get into it too, and he was very ready to get out of his corporate America job. And so he found this partner outside of Oregon, and that is his story to tell, but that it has not gone well. And I mean, yes, we flip them, but like, it's not like it's its own story.
Well, let's save that for maybe a little bit later, because I do want to ask questions about that. Not all the details, but I have something I want to ask. But first of all, I want to say Peggy made a comment. I've been there at the Small Nasty, and I actually remember going through that house with you when we did the flipping field trip. I think it was last May or June of last year. With Robert Harden, and that was actually a really great time. I don't know if you felt like it was, but we had a great time. We had I think there was probably at least 40, 50 people that walked
it was very
through the property. It was we had 3 or 4 different flips that we all toured, and Caitlin's was one of them. And I'm just going to confess to you, Caitlin, I was there at that house on the flipping field trip, and I was looking around like I felt terrible for you because I was looking at I knew the magnitude of that work. And I think that's something that a lot of people actually miss is, after the excitement of the chase and getting the deal closed and getting the funding in place and all that stuff, after that is over, it can be very overwhelming standing there on a project, looking at all the work that needs to be done. And especially with you at that point, you had discovered the oil tank that was going to have to be torn out. And that meant you had to, tear up your patio, and there was just so many things that really went wrong on that project. And it was even if everything had gone well, it was still an older house, which those older houses can be very challenging because you just never know. It's kind of all cobbled together. And I just want to say, I thought at the time, well, if she gets through this one, she'll probably never do one of these again. And I honestly, I thought, well, Caitlin is better than most, right? She at least went out and tried it and did it. But I honestly thought, well, she'll probably end up being a one and done flipper. But no, you've surprised everybody. You've just done so many. I know you've learned a lot too. But I just want to say, I do remember that project, and it was pretty amazing to see what you took that from and what you did with it. And I like what you said. By the grace of God, yes, but also you added value to that property. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? What exactly does that mean for someone who's really not really sure about all this? They haven't really done one of these deals before. How did you take that from first of all, what was it? And then what did you end up turning it into, and why did that make a difference?
Yeah, so the house was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, kind of a weird little cottage kind of house. Someone had illegally converted the the garage into a bedroom. And then, so I think originally it was actually just a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, but someone made it 3 bedrooms kind of on the DL. And then little old me comes along and I have to actually, to sell it, I actually have to get everything permitted. I have to go back and fix all of their um, bad work. My contractor called them bozos. He's like, these bozos did just the worst things to this house.
Hey, that word is actually pretty safe. That's pretty rated G for most contractor talk. But I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah. He knows with me to tone it down a little bit. And we've become friends now, so he's funny. But yeah, so the house had this, when I saw it, and apparently I was like the last in a long line of people to try to buy this house. And like a lot of my friends had tried to buy this house, but the seller wouldn't play ball. And then the seller died. And so then it became a probate, and then it was going to go to foreclosure, and there was like no more grace. And so I came in 5 days after or before the auction. The original buyer had like walked away, which probably should have been my first clue. This was not a good first flip, but actually, I mean, it was great. Taught me everything I needed to know. And so there was a giant bedroom upstairs, and I knew that the way to force value is bathrooms and basements. And so this house was on a slab, so there's no basement to finish, which I would not have been ready for on my first one anyway. And so I was like, well, there's my primary, like we can put a bathroom here. It's right above the bathroom on the main floor. We can pull the plumbing up, and I mean, I'm kind of speaking like I know what all that means, but I had no idea like what all that entailed. And so yeah, I had networked my way to building a relationship with a general contractor. He had walked a few houses with me, really trying to help me understand what things cost. And the day that I walked that house for the first time, he couldn't come with me, which if he had come with me, we might have had a different end of that story. But he FaceTimed it with me, and which I don't recommend. But he was like willing to jump in and do it with me. He had done some work for me personally on my own personal home. So like he knew me a little bit. And he was just willing to like dive in. And no, I will not give you his information because that's not a number I share anymore.
Good call. That's actually another.
No, you don't get that. You got to go find your own person. So yeah, I don't even remember if I answered your question, but
yeah. Well, so let me say a couple of things that you just said along the way here. You said you knew that the way to add value to the property was to add bedrooms or bathrooms, and I think you mentioned a basement, which I think that basement has been kind of that's been like your secret sauce.
Kind of become my thing, yeah.
I like that fact. So when you're out looking for properties now, are you always looking for a property that allows you to add a bathroom or a basement?
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of your thing now.
Yes. I mean, that's what I've done. So 4 of my last 6 Portland projects have been value add by finishing basements. And the way I finish basements is at least 1 bedroom, at least 1 bathroom, a living space, and then a utility room and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I look for tall basements that are dry, that don't smell musty. But even then, like if it's got a little bit of moisture, I call Emleon and they come out. Like my contractor doesn't do that. Because when you're going to go sell something, it has to be Emleon or another like waterproofing foundation company for the work to be valid or considered legitimate. So yeah, it's just taken a lot of time and a lot of kind of stubbornness to to get myself into these things, and then a lot of grit to get myself out of them.
So talk about that. I mean, first of all, I want to go back to, you said that in January of 2025 you hired a coach,
Yeah.
and then and was that a local coach, or was that just kind of a bigger network, or?
Yeah, that was through another network. So yeah, she actually lives in Florida, and she specializes in luxury. And Florida luxury is very different than Portland luxury. Like their price tags are insane to me. But then she looked at some of my rehab budgets, and she was like, "Tile costs how much a square foot for you?" And I was like, "That's how much it costs."
Right.
So yeah, so I took 8 weeks to learn how to underwrite, how to comp, and I've gone through several iterations of my own underwriting since then, but like that gave me the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, and if I was going back to, so that was in January, you started working with her. In February, we did the proximity event in Portland, and you were a part of that. And then in March, you jumped into your first deal. And I remember being, after the proximity event, the whole idea was to try to get in proximity with people that are doing things. And you just went out and kind of like, you had the proverbial kind of charging hell with a squirt gun. I was just like, wow, she's actually doing it. So was there something specific that pushed you over the edge, where you went from learning and even being coached and even being in networking events and then just saying, you know what, I have to do this? Like, what was the thing that really tipped you over the edge to get, you mentioned, getting into it. We'll talk a minute about getting out of them, but what was it that made you just take that very first step?
I think I had the realization that changing my family's future was up to me. My husband has, a corporate America W-2 that pays all our bills, but it's not something that he loves or cares about. He does it because he has to. And he was kind of going through a really hard time with his job, and I was just watching him like, how can I help? And I knew I didn't want to go get another job. I just feel very unemployable at this point. I would just want to work for myself. And so that tipped me over. And then I think he and I had read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X by, I think it's Dan Sullivan. And so he and I had been having just conversations about, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And my, just so you know, I think I said, well, maybe we could flip 5 houses in 2025. And then my husband, love him so much, said, let's make it 10. And I was like, okay. And so I had other things that happened last year was I had daily accountability, which I still have. I have a small accountability circle that I say, this is what I'm going to do today. This is how I'm moving the needle today. And I check in the morning and I check in the evening, and they keep me accountable. And it's how I keep myself accountable. So if I said I've got to underwrite 10 properties, before I get to go to bed, I underwrite 10 properties. And so that was a huge, like, being accountable to other people than myself was huge for me last year. And then we had a whole plan, right? Like, I would go 1 house Q1, he was like, we just got to double it every quarter. So 1 house Q1, 2 houses Q2, 4 houses Q3. And then it was just like, oh my Lord. And so, I mean, he's been so amazing cheering me on. So that's, I mean, I wouldn't say it was just one thing. I would say there was kind of multiple things that pushed me in that direction.
Yeah. Okay. So at some point, though, you decided this is it. We're going to go after it. You obviously walked through the small nasty and pulled the trigger on it, even though that was not, you wouldn't do what you did again. But I like what you said earlier. It's like you learned a ton, great education. You didn't lose money on it, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
And I think you said you even made a little bit of a profit on it. So do you mind sharing, how much was that profit on that first one, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I made $35,000.
Hey, $35,000. That's probably more than a lot of people make, after taxes. And, it wasn't terrible, right? Now,
And it was more than my old job. Like I made more on that house
Yeah.
than I made. Like when I say I made nothing, I mean I made nothing.
Right.
So yeah.
No, I mean, and that's actually, it's funny you said that, because even for me, when I was working at Intel, a lot of people know I was pastoring a church, working bivocationally. I had a small construction company doing remodels, and then we bought this house in Beaverton to move into. Ended up selling it before we ever moved in. Someone made us an offer we couldn't refuse, and it was like, after it was all said and done, I looked at that check after all the dust settled, and I was looking at a check that was more money than my entire annual year's salary at my job working as in the construction industry on Intel sites. So I know for me at least, that was like it was almost like an aha moment. Now you went into it with coaching and intention and goals and accountability, and I went into it without even really knowing that's what I was getting ready to do. I flipped a house, but the point is, whether you go into it fully prepared, or whether you go into it, if you get a good enough deal, even if you weren't intending to, you can still do very, very well with flipping. And I think that's obviously what most people have in mind when they get into it. But let's talk a little bit about some of the deals that haven't been that great for you, besides the wanting to pull your hair out with oil tanks and things like that. As far as financially, have there been any deals that you've lost money on?
Me, no. I haven't lost money on anything I've bought. My husband, yes. So in that way, yes, we've actually lost a good deal of money, which has it's very active. It's happening right now. We're actually
Right.
closing on a house today, and we had to wire a lot of money to close on this house, and it's
Yeah.
extremely beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know that feeling, by the way, just so you
yeah,
know. So I want to just put it out there. What Kaylin just said is they're closing a deal, and most of the time we're like, "Yay, closing!" Which I'm sure you're glad to be done with it.
oh yeah,
That's the only value you get out of it. But I have had to do that before too, where you're having to spend money just to get rid of a property that has become just a problem or a nightmare for you. So they're not all winners, right?
right.
Yeah.
No.
So but that was the one that your husband did, and that was with some other partners. And so maybe just touch briefly on, and I don't want to, if especially since it's all still very active, I don't want you to get into anything you don't want to. But can you talk a little bit about, and I do want to get into some of just the basic stuff, like what makes a deal for you. I want to talk about some of the numbers, how you finance it in a minute, how you figure renovation budgets, but for those that are watching and they're thinking, well, how in the world do you lose money on a flip? Like, how talk a little bit about partnerships, what you've learned, and if you have recommendations for people that are getting into this, because I know that a lot of people go into partnerships because they want to feel that extra layer of security, or it's just the financing. Maybe is there's these promises that sometimes turn out to be too good to be true. But talk a little bit about that, about partnerships in general.
Yeah, I think I would just pose the question of, why do you think you need a partner? Like what about why you don't need a partner? That's a hill I will die on from this moment forward, is you don't need a partner to flip a house. Do you need to hire the help you need? Yeah, you need a general contractor, or if you're going to try subbing it yourself, you need a list of subcontractors. But you do not need a partner. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a couple JV partnerships on flips right now, and it's been a real learning experience. And I think what has been the most, and on one of those houses with one of those partners, things went really wrong here locally. And I think what I was just shocked by was what it did to me personally, and kind of brought up a lot of ugly in myself that I didn't think was there, that I didn't want to acknowledge was there. But if you're going to do a flip, do not give away your control. Do not give away your equity. You don't need to. If you need money, go raise it. If you if you're going to use a HELOC, do that. Like that's how I have financed a lot of my projects. I took out a home equity line of credit on my personal residence and funded the down payment on all of my house, not all, most of my houses that way.
Okay. Now, I want to. What do you mean by, just in case people? I'm trying to, hear what you're saying, and I'm going, okay.
Yeah,
I know
sorry.
people
Yeah.
probably have questions. So, what do you mean by don't give up control? Can you kind of expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so people will tell you partner up, squat up, if you can't do it yourself, go find, or don't do it yourself. Like people tell you not to do a project yourself. They tell you go get a partner. And the person I'm partnered with is a lovely person. We are just, neither of us, I would say, trying to be really respectful. We just don't want to share control. So, so if you're going to JV though, somebody, at the end of the day, someone has to have more of a vote in something than the other person. So my attorney wrote my joint venture agreement for the JV that I'm on right now. And, we initially said, oh, it'll be 50-50 in terms of like design decisions and pricing decisions and like all of that. And my attorney was like, no, you guys are happy now, but eventually something's going to go wrong and you won't be happy. And then what are you going to do if it's a 50-50 decision-making power? Someone has to have 51% written into the JV. And so, in this situation, I ended up with 49% because I was the more junior partner of the two of us. And again, a lovely person. I've just learned I can do it myself. And I would say everybody else, like you don't need a partner. You can do it yourself. You have everything you need to do it yourself, even if it doesn't feel like it. I promise you do.
So someone says, well, yeah, it sounds nice, but I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to start. So, I think I'm just going to get a partner that has more experience. Do you feel like with your personal experience, and again, being sensitive and not talking down about anyone, but do you feel like you just kind of went into it with eyes not quite wide open, or do you feel like you were taken advantage of? Or I mean, like what is it about it that's just like you've got, because you're basically saying you do not need this, don't do this. And I'm sure there's people out there watching or listening going to go, well, yeah, but except for how am I going to get into this? How am I going to do it unless I'm working with someone who knows what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know how to encourage that point other than just if you're in these networking groups, you absolutely can do it yourself. Find an investor friendly agent to go start seeing properties that have been on the market a long time. Start networking in these communities to find hard money lenders who will work with first timers. You're gonna, the first time you flip a house, you're gonna probably have to bring 20% down, and your interest rate's gonna be 12% interest only a month, which is like it's a lot of money, especially in Portland where we are, everything just costs an arm and a leg here. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answers.
Well, I think what you said is really important, is the value of a network, getting involved in a network where you can actually not only make the contacts for some of the different resources and vendors you need, but also even using, I tell this people all the time, use the network to vet who you're going to be working with. If you've got a local network, then you're going to have, I mean, the truth of the matter is real estate investing is kind of a small world.
It's tiny.
Right. It's very, very tiny. And even in a bigger market like Portland, I'm in Boise now, of course, and it's even smaller than ever, but even in a bigger market like Portland, or you get into some places like Los Angeles or Atlanta or some of these bigger markets, you might think there's a bunch of people out there doing this, but there's really not. And so relatively speaking, the people doing this type of work, it's a small group. And I have found that if you will just ask around, you can get a lot of great answers from the community of people that are already there doing it. Maybe they're not going to help you with everything, but they'll at least tell you, hey, I would maybe not work with that person, or you might want to consider this, that, or the other.
Mhm.
Or they might even just say, yeah, you don't need that. I know somebody who can do what you need. I think you mentioned something that's really valuable that people that want to flip need to keep in mind. Just because one lender says no, we require you to have done 3 deals before we work with you. That doesn't mean that everybody has that. This is subprime, lending. So this is not your typical, there's a threshold
Mhm.
or a baseline for that. There's every private money lender, every hard money lender is a little different. So
Mhm.
I like the fact that you brought that up. Like, just find one that will work with someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, because they are out there. Now you might pay a
Mhm.
little bit more money, and they might be a little more, stringent on looking at your deal, which I actually wanted to ask you
Mhm.
about. But from my experience, my first hard money lender was someone who'd actually been soliciting me, because I had somehow or another, before I knew anything about real estate, before I even flipped my first house, I'd been looking at a property years and years and years ago on on Brookwood, and and it was a little dumpy place, had a couple mobile homes, and someone said, hey, you should talk to this guy because he loans on stuff like that. So I got on this guy's list, and this hard money lender was very, very good at reaching out to me all the time. And I
Mhm.
got into my first deal, and he actually loaned me money based on the fact that I had some construction experience and because of the project itself, not necessarily because I had a history of flipping. So, what was it like with you? First of all, do you have a hard money lender that you like, that you want to
Mhm.
recommend? And then what was that like? Walk people through that. What's that process look like from a high level?
Yeah, so my first deal was funded by Rain City Capital, and they funded it for me within 5 days, which is really fast. They don't like to work that fast, so try not to make them work that fast. Um, but they were great, and but what when you go to a hard money lender, typically, they're going to want to know the address, the current bed bath count, the planned, post renovation bed bath count. They want to know your rehab budget, like a detailed rehab budget. So you're going to have to know how much your roof is going to cost, your windows, everything. You have to know how much everything costs, and you have to send them your budget, and then they will come back to you and say they will do a separate, like, internal valuation of the house, and then they will say, based on what we believe the after repair value is, this is how much we'll fund. And so some lenders don't require appraisals, some do. A lot of times if it's an appraisal, it's just I got to go take pictures of it, and then they kind of value it themselves. um, but yeah, Rain City was super friendly to me as a newbie. And then I've worked with Conventus, I've worked with Kiavi, like I've tried a couple of different ones,
Yeah,
um, and I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite yet because they're all a little different.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Let's.
it's not as scary
Yeah, that's
as it might seem.
that's the point that I really wanted people to pick up on. Is this is not actually it's not like going into a bank and applying for a mortgage. I mean, it's nothing like that. There are some things that are kind of similar, but again, that's every lender has a little bit of a different criteria for that. So,
Right.
thank you. I want to talk about. And there's actually a really great question that kind of ties in with this. So I'm going to use Kevin's question here to help launch into this. Kevin says, what does the spread from purchase, the ARV to the ARV, need to be on a deal for you to be interested? And I know every investor has a little different criteria for what their buy box is, which he asked about. Are you looking for any specific types of deals, sub two, low entry, cash sales? So let's answer that first one. What does the spread look like? So to be clear, what kind of profit margins do you need to be seeing, or at least anticipating, for you to even be interested in it?
Uh, yeah, the answer to this has evolved in the last 12 months.
I
When
bet it has.
yeah, when I started out, I was looking for a 10% profit, net profit. After everybody else gets paid, I want to make 10%. Um, and so, people throw around, 70-cent deals, 75-cent deals. My brain doesn't work that way. I can't tell you what a 75-cent deal is, even
Mhm.
to this day. I don't care. Um, I know I'm safe if I'm purchasing, like, at first glance, around 50% of what I believe the ARV is going to be.
Okay.
That is much easier for my brain to do on the fly.
It's funny you said that, because after all these years that I've been doing this too, I've kind of landed in that zone too. If
Yeah.
if I don't see at least a 50%, room there between, hey, if it's worth 400,000, I'm looking at 200,000 to purchase it. And if I
Mhm.
don't see that kind of margin, I'm already like just kind of mentally consigned to the fact that someone would have to convince me that this is worth pursuing, because that
Right.
50% mark seems to actually be a fairly safe threshold.
I mean, it's safe. It depends on the scope, right? Like if you're getting into, I can never make cosmetic projects pencil. The cost to buy, finance, sell, all of those things add up so fast that like a cosmetic flip to me just is not even worth the time. It has to be a heavy rehab value add, a basement that's tall enough to finish, a room that's big enough to add a bathroom. So we have a primary, like it has to be a little more complex.
It's funny you said that, because my phone, I just opened it up because I got a text, and there was an Instagram feed from you, and it's your video. You said here, my problem is the worse the house is, the more interested I am. So I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I think,
Yeah.
explain what you mean by that. Like, it's not you're not looking for cosmetic deals. You're looking for heavy fixers.
Yeah. Because so what that means is, you know, holes in the roof, holes in the siding. I don't love cracks in the foundation, but I will look at a crack in the foundation, um, um, trash everywhere, I mean, just I'm looking for a house where I can touch everything, make it better, and then make money on it. Um, there's just unfortunate realities of that kind of a house though. So, I go into every house planning to do a full rewire, planning to do a full replumb, because by the time you touch one thing, it just cascades into everything else. So I've learned on a house I just looked at over the weekend, I looked at it and I was like, that's a $30,000 electrical bill. Like, I just already know. And so that's what I'm putting in my budget. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not going to apologize for knowing that, like, I'm probably going to spend 30 grand on that electricity, all that wiring in the panel and all the things. So, yeah, it's you now I'm getting more comfortable saying I want a 15% profit margin when I set out to buy something, because by the end, it's almost always going to get cut because I'm the last person to get paid. I pay my
Right.
private money lenders back before I get paid.
Right.
Hard money lender, contractor, everybody's paid. Title's paid before I'm paid, for goodness sake. So
The one who takes the most risk is the one who is the last to get paid. And also, this is funny to actually, we think about it like this, but you're taking the most risk, you're the last to get paid, and you have the greatest possibility of not making anything.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to make money.
Yeah, flipping is not for the faint of heart. It's not easy. I mean, it's straightforward, but it's not easy. Those are not the same thing. And if you're interested in it, I'm more than happy to talk with you about it. But I think the most important things for you to understand is that to flip a house, you have to know what it's going to cost to buy it, to finance it, to renovate it, to hold it, and to sell it. You have to know what those 5 things are going to cost.
Okay, let's slow that down for a minute. Okay, so, and I want to get some interaction from our audience. The 5 things that you need to know, according to Caitlin Beals, if you're going to be flipping a house, are: start from the top, Caitlin, and just kind of maybe break down what you mean by that, just kind of slowly. And then you guys that are listening, type it back in the chat so we know you're getting this.
Yeah. So you have to know how much it's going to cost to buy, so your purchase price. You have to know how much it's going to cost to finance. So that's your hard money, your private money, if you have somebody in second position. And that includes really goes into your holding costs. So how much it's going to cost you every month to pay those interest payments. You have to know how much utilities are going to cost, taxes, insurance. You know, you have to know how much all those things are going to cost. And then let's see, buy, finance, hold. So some of those are holding costs. And then sell. You have to know how much you're going to pay your agent, how much you're going to pay the buyer's agent, how much you're going to spend in title fees, how much you're going to spend to stage, which staging is critical. That is not that is a very necessary expense. In Portland, we're required to do home energy audits. That costs $150. And then I personally count the Portland. So in Portland, there's like a 1% business tax. I personally count that as an expense. I don't pay that out of my net. I that has to be part of the math. So yeah, it's a lot of things to know how much it's going to cost. And I have a calculator that I use that I built. Well, my husband built it, not me. I told him what I needed in it, and then he built it for me. And then lately, I've also been sort of creating my own version of like an all-in calculator. So I see every cost, and then at the end, I see, okay, if this happens, I'm going to make that much. If that happens, I'm going to make that much. And so then you need to know how much you can sell it for. And then it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
how important is it to you to be really, really like how dialed in do you want to be on your dispo, your final ARV cost? Like what are you doing to make sure that you understand whenever I sell this thing, it has to be at least X amount for me to be able to make this worth it? Did you figure out a way to do that?
Yeah, I use batch leads to comp. It's not an amazing in Portland. It's not actually super. It's helpful for a baseline, but I don't actually trust it that much. So, and the reason I don't trust it for Portland homes is because of the basement factor. Because batch leads, and I don't know about other like PropStream, it doesn't account for basement square footage in the square footage of the home. So then I have to go check Portland maps or like homes.com to say, oh, is that accurate? Yeah. And is it a good like for like comp? So I use that to figure that out. And then I have built some really solid investor friendly agent relationships where I can say, hey, I'm looking at this house. Could you send me a CMA on it?
Yeah. And so you've got some software tools that you're using, paid software. You're using some local resource tools that like are kind of more geographically located, have more information about the house from planning or zoning or from tax records. And then you're also utilizing your your boots on the ground connections with investor friendly agents who will give you those CMAs. That I think that's a great combo, and I think people probably, maybe if you've never done a deal, you don't understand it. Like they just look at Zillow. If you're looking at Zillow and saying, well, it's worth this much, or this estimate says, and I know that most people wouldn't think, oh, that anybody does that. But I think maybe if we can just talk for a minute to the people that are looking to get into real estate, what you're hearing from Caitlin today is so valuable because she's kind of telling you the real cost of doing a flip. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, if you're watching this, like, well, I'm not a flipper. I'm just a wholesaler. I don't really care about any of this, but you should. And the reason why is because if you're wholesaling, most likely your end buyer is going to be a Caitlin Beals. It's going to be a John Buys Houses type of a person, someone who's going to flip it or someone who's going to renovate it and then refinance it after we rent it out. So no matter what, your prospect for buying these properties is going to most likely be a cash buyer. And guess what? Cash buyers, especially ones like Caitlin who've done 12 deals in 12 months, I guarantee you she's looking at the numbers very, very closely. She's not just jumping on every wholesaler's list and going, oh, I'm going to go check out that one, because most wholesalers, they kind of do the classic ARV times 70% minus, renovation costs. And it seems like every renovation only is going to cost somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000, supposedly. And then they're like, and there you go, and so it's just not like that. And so, Caitlin, I really appreciate that. What else do you have to say to maybe a wholesaler or someone who's like, I want to get into this, but I'm not quite ready to flip? Do you have any tips for someone who's looking to wholesale and people, are you looking at wholesale deals? I think most of your deals come from on market, don't they?
Yeah, I have bought one wholesale deal and I almost instantly regretted it.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I kind of do have I'm not going to buy from a wholesaler. I don't trust their numbers. I don't think that they're actually deals, which sorry. It's hard to say out loud. That's something I normally say in private. But yeah, I buy on market, which that's how I have bought everything. I tend to go after long days on market, like 90 days or more. And to the people who and we're looking at, distressed, dated, wow, it's got an oil burning furnace, or wow, it's got a really old oven. What else is it hiding, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I know that as I'm sort of feeling like I'm kind of closing my first chapter as a real estate professional. What my next chapter is going to look like, I don't completely know yet. I know that I have to find more margin for it to be worth it, because the way I'm feeling right now is like my money would have been better in the stock market on a couple of these houses. And that's a really crushing realization to hit at the end,
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm stubborn and basically I've decided this is what I'm doing, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it has to be worth it. And for me, worth it is I'm starting out planning to make 15% net profit.
Yeah.
It never actually ends up that way, but that's what I got to start believing it's going to be.
Well, it's like, that book that you mentioned, 10x is easier than 2x. It's like you have to have something that you're shooting for,
Right.
and it might as well be big, because if you're planning for 15%, then guess what? You might make 10 or 11.
You might make 10
Yeah.
or yeah.
Right. And so that's really, I think that's a smart way to go about it. We could, you and I could talk, and we have
Yeah.
talked in the past about all kinds of things, but I wanted you to take a couple of minutes here as we wrap things up, because we could go long, and I actually want to try to have you come out for one of our PDXRI groups
Sure.
meetups
Yeah.
and have you speak. But I know there's a couple of other questions. And by the way, Peggy says that she said, and I actually thought this was smart too. She said, "I love that you have an accountability partner. That's what I need." So, could you answer that? Is that something that's like a group, or you just have a couple of people that are going to hold your feet to the fire? How did you find this, and how do they actually hold you accountable, or is it just the fact that you kind of hold yourself accountable to do what you say you're going to do?
Yeah. So I found my accountability group through another community I'm part of called Raising Private Money. I had joined that last year because I was like, well, that's my big need now is, I can flip a house, but I'm terrified of raising private money. And for a variety of reasons. And so in that community, there was a woman named Rebecca, and she and I knew each other from a couple other things. And so she pulled me aside and she's like, hey, me and my partner, like we're daily accountability partners, and it seems like you could benefit from that too. So I actually have it right here. So I have a form that I fill out every day. I print one of these every day.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is not my creation. This is Rebecca's partner's creation. He trademarks this, not mine. So I have like a section of the idea is like these are commitments that I make to myself with the urgency of the same urgency as if I was trying to save my child's life. Like, I mean, it's like these are things, and I think the idea is if you're not going to actually maybe do what you want to do until you start keeping your promises to yourself. And so I have a daily of personal things, personal commitments, like my exercise is on there. If I'm going to read that day, my reading is on there, calling my mom is on there. I mean, it's just kind of like everything, and then I have a personal business development section. And then, so we send out every morning we send out our, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I commit to. And then at the end of the day, we send out this is what I did. And, lately, like I've been like, you know what, guys, I'm actually not hitting that thing that I said I was going to do. And I keep not doing it. And so it forces you, it holds up a mirror to yourself to say, this is what I am or am not doing. And then at the end, the bottom of the form is 3 things you're grateful for. And then like, what did you learn? What did you struggle with? Like it's a way to kind of reflect on the day itself. And you know, some days are like, oh, my listing is on the market. And then some days are like, I'm grateful it's sunny outside, you know. I mean, it's just kind of the so yeah, we've been accountability partners since January 2025.
That's really amazing. I think that's probably so much more important than a lot of people realize.
It's huge.
You know, it's because there's a lot of things we talk about, especially with YouTube and social media. There's all this stuff. There's people doing things like, oh, I could do that. I want to do that. But I've been actually surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I've been surprised doing the PDX REI group meetup for the last almost, yeah, we're coming up on at the end of five full years now. And I've been shocked to see how many people keep coming to the event, keep coming to the meetups consistently, and yet they still haven't actually ever done a deal or committed to it, or they haven't done one in a long time. And I think, you know, sometimes I think, well, what are they actually trying to do? Do they have any real actual goals? And I think that it's not that people don't have a goal or don't want to. It's just that it's a lot, right? We've all got a lot going on. You're a mom, you've got kids, your kids have got, you know, sports and school and this and your husband and all this. And, you know, we've got life, and then you're going to go try to do something like this. I think that what you said is so true. This business, especially flipping, is not for the faint of heart. And I would even say it's really true for pretty much anything we're doing in real estate. I think the perception is like, oh, it's so easy and you can do it, and you know, 3 hours a week or whatever. And that's just not reality.
It's not true.
It's so not true, you know.
It's just not true.
But it's worth, you know, at least for me, it's been, and you're saying for you too, it's worth it because I was thinking about this as you said it. You know, your money would have been better in the stock market on a couple of your deals. Okay, as far as just a comparison of what you made in return.
Just money, right? Sure.
Right. But the value that you have gained by doing what you've done and really to cram it all into the last 12 to 18 months is just remarkable. I mean, really, it's only been about 12, 13 months now.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've done so much in such a short amount of time. This is the kind of stuff that most people that are in a lot of real estate groups, they've joined mentorships, they've paid $5, $10, $15, $20,000 to be a part of these mentorship groups, and they still haven't done one deal. And you've done 5, and I mean, you know, 10, 12 in the last 12 months. Like, that's remarkable. So I want to say, first of all, congratulations. I really mean that. And then I want to talk about 2 things as we wrap up today. And I'll ask you the second thing in just a minute. But the first thing I want to ask you is talk a little bit about the person that you've become, or as I think we talked about one time, maybe the person that has been revealed, the person who you were, obviously, and how is flipping and how is what you've accomplished in the last 12 months, what you've learned, how do you see yourself now looking back compared to how you saw yourself 12 months ago?
Yeah. I mean, people tell me I'm like night and day different from 12 months ago. Sometimes I have a hard time seeing it, but I think that I'm more willing to actually use my voice and tell people no, or say that's not good enough, or you know, I never would have said this to anyone a year ago, but over the weekend, you know, I'm trying to be nice to this subcontractor, but he's so delayed getting something done. And I finally said, I don't have more time to be diplomatic. I need this done. And if you can't do it, I need to find someone else who's going to do it. And being that direct is not my style. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm really mad, and then I can be really direct. So yeah, I think I'm more confident in, you know, believing that I can go do big things, believing that I can make money that matters, believing that I'm capable of building a business, whatever it's going to end up looking like. I don't really know yet. And that I can do it. I just have kind of decided whatever I decide to do, I can do it.
I love that. And the great thing is it's not just something you're saying from the starting point. You can actually look back and say, yes, I can, because look what I've done. So
Mhm.
the second thing, thank you for that answer. And then the second thing I was going to ask you is something you and I've talked about a little bit privately, but I just wanted to put it out there and maybe see where you're at with things. Have you ever thought about doing coaching? And I'm thinking specifically coaching about real estate, particularly flipping, and particularly coaching other women who are interested in getting in real estate themselves. Have you thought about that much more?
I have.
Where are you at on
I
that?
have. Yeah, I'm open to it. I'm waiting for some houses to sell, and then I think I gotta go learn some things about being a coach and making sure that, what I'm offering is valuable to people. Uh, so yeah, I would say I'm open to it. It's not a no right
Tyrone
now.
says, I want to learn how to flip houses. Do you want to? I think you said you prefer to stick with coaching ladies right now, but who
Right now,
knows?
yeah, sorry, Tyrone.
Yeah. No, I get it
Uh,
though, because I think that's probably actually going to be a question you're going to have to handle a lot because, you said you got to figure out, make sure what you're going to be teaching is valuable. Well, frankly, just access to someone with what you've done in the last 12 months is actually valuable. And I truly mean that when I say that. We talked about, 12 months ago in February, we had the proximity event. And the whole idea is just getting around other people who are doing things that you want to do and those connections they have. And I really feel like there was several people that little event that we had in Portland there was kind of a tipping point for some. And I know that you're one of the leading in the group, but there was several that decided, you know what, this is it. I'm going for it. And if other if that little event had that kind of effect on others, then I personally think that other ladies having access to you, even for what you've already accomplished, just being able to ask questions is huge. So
mhm, mhm.
let's do this. Tell people where they can find you if they want to follow you. I know you've been posting some stuff on Instagram. Do you have any
Yeah.
other channels? Have you started a YouTube yet? Like
No.
where can we find you?
No, I will not do YouTube. Yeah, primarily I post on Instagram and Facebook, and it's just my name, just at Caitlin Beals on both platforms. Um, and I think, John, one of the things that I wrestled with a lot last year was these phrases that entrepreneurs and coaches and teachers throw around. It's like you hear all these phrases like, success loves speed and money loves speed and, go big or go home. And then there's the direct opposite, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Mm,
And if I could go back to myself a year ago, I would say go slow is smooth.
yeah.
Don't like what I did was what I have accomplished in the last year. Yes, it's impressive, but also, there's consequences also to setting a big goal. And um, if I could go back, I maybe would not have bought a couple of the houses that I bought.
Mm,
And I mean, I still would have done it because I'm me and I just do,
mm,
I just set out to do stuff and I do it. Um, but yeah, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Like if you want to go flip a house, amazing, go do it. Flip one, get through the whole thing, see what you think, how did that go? And then, maybe go bananas from there if you really want to. But I would say slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And that's really what I'm trying to embody now is slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
that's very good. And I think people, if they've been through some of the things you've been through and they have some experience, they know exactly what you mean by that when you say it. For the rest of you that are trying to figure that out, just go ponder that a little bit. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast, and it doesn't make sense unless you really think about it. And one of the things that Myron Golden, one of my business coaches, and Myron probably too, but he said that obviously there is some element of success love speed, like that is actually true to
Very
the
true.
deal out there. You got to get to it quickly, but what he also said is sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. And I have found that for myself personally is that it's oftentimes the deals I rushed into The ones I was just like, oh, I'm going to get this deal. I'm excited about it. And I didn't do all my homework. I didn't run the numbers correctly. I didn't crunch things, or even I ignored that little hint,
The
that little
gut.
tinge of
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know if this is really a good deal, but I'm going to go for it anyway because success loves speed. So I know what you mean by that. Been there, done that. I have the T-shirt and the hoodie and all of those things too. So, Caitlin, we could talk for a long time. Thank you
Yeah,
so
I
much
know.
for being
We all
here.
gotta
It's
go.
already hard to believe we've already been on here for an hour like this now. So, thank you for joining me. Thank you for really being willing to actually be open about this. I know that you've been very open about some things, even some of the ugly things, some of the hard things, some of the disappointments, and I personally think that that's hugely valuable for a lot of people. So, you guys, if you're not already following Caitlin, go follow her. And listen, don't just follow her, watch her videos. They're very good. Watch them through. Give her a thumbs up on this. If you guys got value out of this today, then let us know in the comments. Peggy says, by the way, you've already been valuable to me. And so I think
Thanks,
there's probably a lot of people that know you, Caitlin, that feel the same way. It's really, really cool to be able to kind of know somebody in the Portland market that is a good person. You've done a great job. Your flips, by the way, look amazing. And I mean that. Like,
Thanks.
I want to say that actually just real quickly. They're not what I like about them. Even my wife, who is comes from interior design background and grew up building construction homes up with. I mean, her parents did. Even my wife is like, oh, I love what Caitlin did with that kitchen and the wallpaper and stuff. So it's not just the cookie cutter kind of the cool gray, kind of the classic
millennial gray.
stuff. Yeah, you're doing great. It looks good. So I hope that you keep doing it. I hope that you keep being successful at it. And I hope that you will be able to, maybe other ladies will be able to learn from you if they're wanting to kind of get into this and follow in your footsteps. So thanks, Caitlin. Do you have any final words for anybody that's thinking about real estate? What's your parting shot?
I mean, I think it's, if you're gonna do it, go do it, and get in there, mess it up, figure out how to get out of it, and move on. Don't take on a partner. You don't need a partner. You can do it yourself. Like, trust yourself that you are capable of doing what you want to do. And yeah, I'll cheer for you all day long.
Well said. Well, Caitlin, we're cheering for you too. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week. And we'll look forward to seeing you at one of the upcoming PDX REI Group events.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you ever want to come over to Idaho and speak here, we'll have you do one. So,
I do have family in Idaho, and I'm sure they would appreciate a visit. So maybe we can do that.
I just so you know, throw this little seed out there. I've been thinking about doing another proximity event in Idaho in Boise, and you're one of the people that I would like to have come speak at the event.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we'll put that on the back burner for now, but I'm excited to see where you're going to go from here. So good job, Caitlin. Thanks for coming on today. And everybody else, if you guys got value out of this, make sure that you go and follow Caitlin. Make sure that you, just encourage her, because a lot of times you're posting stuff and you're like, does anybody even see this? Is this even helping anybody? So if you guys got value out of this, let us know in the comments. Go follow Caitlin. And if you are thinking about getting into real estate, and especially if you're a female that wants to learn from someone, I can say this. I mean, I totally trust Caitlin. I think she has high integrity. I believe that she does a great job. She's not cutting corners. And I think she's going to tell you straight, because she's learned how to do that in the last year. She mentioned she does that whenever she gets mad, but I bet you now she doesn't have to be mad to just tell people straight. So I think you'll get a lot of help from her if she ends up doing that. So, okay, everybody, thanks for coming on today. Sorry again for the late start. Sorry we went long, and we will see you, God willing, either at the TV REI Group meetup this coming Thursday night if you're here local in Boise, or in the PDX REI Group coming up here the third Thursday of the month in Portland. And until then, or until next Tuesday at Tuesday Talks, appreciate you guys. God bless, and we'll see you soon.